Hi everyone, my name is Ian, and today I'm going to show you 7 tools that you can use on Google to help with your teaching experience. I'm focusing this mainly on instruction, so I'm not going to talk about Google Classroom or Google Forms because those mostly deal with the general upkeep of a class and managing assignments, but this is going to focus on how we can improve physical instruction with tools from Google. Now, before I get into it, I just want to let you know that I'm a student at Alliant International University pursuing a teacher credential, and this is actually an assignment for an educational technology class, but that doesn't mean that one cannot use this to learn more about Google. They don't have to be a teacher, they don't have to be a student, they can just be someone who just wants to know what Google can do, and I hope this video reaches you and I hope it inspires you. I will be throwing around some terms like some ISTE standards, some UDL framework stuff, just to satisfy the requirements of this assignment. But this is open to anyone, and I hope anyone uses this for their benefit. So the first tool I want to talk about is right on the Google homepage, and I'm talking about Google operators. Now, I know you've been there, you've been searching through Google, and you just feel like you're searching mainly through the weeds, and you feel like you're wasting time because you know that the thing you're looking for is out there, you just can't find it. Well, this is something that you can use to help you out. So the first operator is the minus operator. So let's say we're trying to do some research on Homer. We're writing a paper about the Odyssey. We just want some information on Homer. So we're gonna type in Homer, and yeah, they give us a little bit, some pictures of the poet. But as we go down, we start running into Homer Simpson stuff, some baseball stuff that has nothing to do with the actual author of the Iliad and the Odyssey. So what we can do is we can limit that source. Okay, got Homer. Type in the minus operator. We're gonna write Simpson here. And now we see less interruptions. Not perfect, but we see less interruptions, and it's a little bit more of a focused search. Okay? All right, now I'm going to show you another operator that I love even more. This is called the cite operator. Check this out. It's SITE colon, and then whatever you type after that is going to narrow what you write next to what's physically in the URL. So, for example, let's say I want to do the history of rap. I'm a 10th grade student and I want to write a paper on the history of rap. But I'm going to type in enter on Google and I'm going to see all these videos. I'm going to see stuff on Wikipedia, NPR, Britannica. By the way, these aren't bad resources, but they're not going to be academic enough for our papers, for our students' papers. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach our students how to use the cite operator. So instead of just history of rap, we just type in of, I'm going to do capital SITE colon .edu. So that's going to narrow my search to only .edu URLs. Hit enter, check it out. I got information from Yale University, Smithsonian Institute, um, Brandeis University. This is the good stuff, and you can't go wrong. You're not looking through the weeds. You're not going to be looking and searching for information that's buried in an ocean of unrelated stuff, which is too often the case. Definitely teach your students about this operator. They'll be able to incorporate it into their project. And that's what the whole expression of communication UDL guideline is all about. All right, now let's move on to another wonderful technology from Google called Google Trends. And what this basically does is it gives you a graph, it gives your students a graph of the number of times that people search a term on Google. So let's use an example of a popular rapper that most kids know, Ice Spice. So Ice Spice, she's pretty young. She's in her early 20s, if I'm not mistaken. And this is basically a graph of the number of times people Googled her name today. Now we can change this. I like to do it from 2004 to the present. So now we're looking at a graph of the number of times people have Googled the words Ice Spice. So it looks like no one heard of her until looks like the summer of 2022, which makes sense because that's when she started releasing albums and started interacting with other artists. Doesn't stop there. We could compare results in the US to worldwide, to Canada, any of these places, Albania, Algeria, you name it. We can even compare it to other search terms. So let's compare her to Cardi B, another popular female rapper. So it looks like we got Cardi B in the red here. We got Ice Spice in the blue. Cardi B seems to take charge pretty early. Looks like she kind of started in November 2015. She had a little bit of a blip on the map there, and then Ice Spice came later. But you can even see they're kind of almost in competition around 2021, 2022. Looks like they do kind of have that rivalry going on. We can even compare it to Nicki Minaj. What the heck? I can just add as many as I want. And there we go. Now we got Nicki Minaj. It tells us a breakdown of where the searches are popular by state, all kinds of maps. You can even look at international maps as well. Now, the cool thing about this is it turns students into knowledge constructors. That's what ISTE standard 1.3 is all about, because it's not just becoming a constructor of information. We're using technology to help students become curators of artifacts that carry information. And we can use technology to turn students into those kind of curators, which is a big part of becoming a global citizen, which is what ISTE is all about. And speaking in that, let's go head over to Bard. Now, this is the controversial one. I know a lot of people are talking about ChatGPT. Google Bard is essentially the Google version of ChatGPT that Google launched in March, just a few months after OpenAI released ChatGPT. And it does most of the same things. Teachers can use it to make tests. So let's say we wanted to make a test on 100 Years of Solitude. I can't spell today. By Gabriel Garcia Marquez. We're gonna say we can do, maybe we can do essay prompts. Maybe we can do a multiple choice test. Let's do um, can you make a multiple choice exam about 100 Years of Solitude? I'll give that bad boy a second to think it over. And there we go. A multiple choice test. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be 100% useful to your students. Obviously, being a teacher is going to involve a lot of work. And this isn't going to do that work for you. But it's going to give you a place to start. And I think this is a wonderful place to start. In fact, this might save a teacher 45 minutes to an hour just with this. And it can also generate all kinds of writing prompts, whatever you want. It'll help if you're a Spanish teacher, a language arts teacher, or even a history teacher. It proved very useful for myself and even the teachers that I engaged with during my student teaching experience. But I also believe that we could implement this technology to make students more creative, right? Part of ISTE's standards, particularly standard 1.6, is all about getting students to become creative communicators. And this is one example of how we can use an AI technology like this to turn students into creative communicators. I have one assignment where I have students create their own version of a scene from a play. So let's do Antigone, for example. So I'm a student, and my task, I'm just imagining a scenario, my task for my teacher is to use AI to generate a scene that does not exist in a play and tailor it so that it reflects themes that we did, in fact, discuss in class. So I'm a student, I'm going to generate something like this. Generate a scene in the style of Sophocles about Antigone being helped and comforted by a satyr. Give it a moment to work its magic. And here we go. We have a scene that mimics the style of Sophocles in a story that's technically part of the Antigone story, but does not exist whatsoever. Now, this is an artistic creation somewhat. Students can tailor it, modify it, take stuff out, continue prompting more information into it to create a work of art that's sensational. I definitely believe that this is helpful to students, not only in understanding the styles of authors, but walking away from a language arts class feeling like they actually created something, even if they have the help of artificial intelligence. It would have been way more difficult to generate this on one's own, but I find it helpful. And it makes students creative communicators. All right, and speaking in creativity, I think it's a good time to talk about um, Google Arts and Culture. I love this app, and I think it really, really hits the nail on the head for one UDL framework guideline, which is recruiting interest. Um, it's all about getting students excited about learning, getting students excited for engaging in the material. And one way we can do that is by showing them art and cultural artifacts. This is where this application comes into place. They're always updating it, and it's also multicultural. It's not just focused on one part of the world. Just right here, we have flowers and Korean art. We can take a look at that. Flower hairpins. We can even actually do digital tours of museums, which is very exciting. I like to use that search bar right here. Let's say we're interested in Mexican pottery. This is actually a real interest of mine. And here we go. We have all of these exhibitions and articles about that one particular thing related to arts and culture. Here's an online exhibit of the ancient Americas, and we see a looks like this is a clay animal from the Americas. Absolutely beautiful. You can see the high quality resolution of these artworks as well. You can see just these minute details in the grains. Absolutely wonderful. It'll also go, it'll work wonders in helping students become expressional communicators, is another UDL framework guideline. And I think that field trips, especially virtual field trips, is a really exhilarating part of what Google can do. Let's take a look at Google Earth really quick. Now, whenever I use Google Earth as part of instruction, what I typically do is I'll start off by showing students the school that they are learning in. So when I was doing my student teaching, I was at Eleanor Roosevelt High School. So let's go ahead and drop that into Google really quick. So we're going all the way around the world. And there's the school where these hypothetical students would be. And the reason why I do this is that it helps ground students in a location that they are familiar with. That's the school. They'll recognize the buildings. They'll recognize this park right here, this road, those mountains in the background. It makes them feel like they're actually starting from somewhere. We're starting with prior knowledge, using prior knowledge as a platform to build new knowledge. So let's say we're reading a book like The Count of Monte Cristo, and there's that famous chapter in that novel about Rome, when all of the major characters are in Rome and they're exploring it, exploring the city during the festival. So let's take a look. Let's do a field trip to the Colosseum in Rome. So you pop that into the search operator right there, and now we're going to go all the way to Italy, to Rome, and there is the Colosseum. Not bad. We can zoom in. Wow, absolutely beautiful, stunning. We can kind of change the perspectives, give everyone a better view of this enchanting city of Rome. Wonderful. I think there's the Arch of Constantine right there. If you take this road a little bit down, you'll find the Arch of Titus, which was built after if I'm not mistaken, during the 70s AD, after the conquest of Jerusalem. And then if we go past there, and basically we're just giving a sort of a field trip here. Here's the ruins of the Roman Forum. We can just play around with the perspective to just give us a very beautiful, mesmerizing view of Rome. So that's sort of a field trip tool that you can use in your direct instruction, make it a little bit more exciting and engaging for the kids. And with that being said, I think it's a good idea to move into our last couple of things here. So Google Scholar is a big one when it comes to finding sources that are reliable. We talked about this when we were using our operators to find rap music, history of rap music through the operator, only finding .edus. Now this search engine is basically going to give us results that are essentially journal entries that are peer reviewed by other scholars. So let's go back to Mexican pottery, and we don't just see information about Mexican pottery. We have PDFs of physical journal articles that were peer reviewed by other professors, experts, what have you. It's definitely going to go a long way for your students, especially if your students don't have access to databases that have MLA, JSTOR, or any of those other search engines for scholarly work like this. And it works the same way with Google Books. I personally like Google Books when it comes to this last minute sensation when you need something for your students to do, and let's say you run over to the copy machines and the copy machines are jammed and you just don't know what to do. Google Books has your back because students have access to it with their Chromebooks, and you can do almost anything, especially if in the public domain. So I'm particularly a big fan of the poetical works of John Keats. You pop that in that bad boy, and you got an 1847 free copy of the poetical works of John Keats, which is absolutely fabulous. You can have your students take a look, take a gander on their Google Classroom, and you can do whatever assignment you want to do with that. It's your world. You can do anything you want. So, well, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Again, my name is Ian, and I hope you take these tools and use them to their fullest potential into your teaching career or whatever career, whatever you want to do when you're using your Google. The whole point of this was just to show you that Google can do way more than help you find one piece of information at a time. It's full of useful tools to encourage and to inspire. And with that, have a good day.